so this is part 2 of spring Chinook prep. So in part 1, I went over the rods and reels I purchased for trolling for spring Chinook with my new boat. They're the Okuma Guide Select Classic rods with the Okuma cold water reels. In part 1, I also went over how I spool these up using monofilament as backing, basically to save you costs on braided line, because it's much cheaper than braided line. So in this part, we're going to go over the rigging, and this is the rigging that Daryl has shown me over the last couple years, and we've had pretty decent success. Now, I should mention this is just a hodgepodge of techniques that he's learned from guides that he's gone with and from just research on the internet. So thanks to those people that have been very forthcoming with information, and a shout out to a Facebook group called Willamette Springers. If you're not part of it, you should probably join. The folks on there are generally pretty good about sharing information on techniques. So let's get into this. So to start out with, I've already rigged up 3 of my 4 rods just so I didn't have to kind of mess with them while I was recording, so that the final rod is, I've already kind of practiced and kind of figured out some of the things that I need to know. Okay, so I've already got the line threaded through the guides on this rod. This is one of my 9'3" models. I can't put this together in my office without it hitting the walls, and just because this office is so small. But to start out with, all the older guys will appreciate this. I gotta put on my glasses to see what I'm doing. So again, Power Pro, this is braided line, the standard stuff. You wanna start out with one of these, they're called T-beads, and they're kind of a cone shape. The idea of the T-bead is that debris basically just floats right by it. It doesn't get hung up on it as easy as just a standard bead. So thread that on, obviously the cone portion up. And then I'm going to put on a 5mm bead. Okay, so now we have the T-bead on and the 5mm bead. So the next piece is we're going to put our spreader on. Now these are SHORTBUS spreaders, and these are the standard ones. These aren't the ones that have the sliding weight. This is just what we use. There's nothing wrong with the other method, I guess, but we haven't had a problem with our cannonballs getting hung up in our net. What's nice is all of the SHORTBUS flashers and the spreaders come with these really heavy duty snap swivels. All right, so next we're gonna tie our braid to one of the snap swivels that came with the spreader. Now I jokingly made up a name for this knot, and I'm gonna call it the 4-name knot. Now the reason for that is when I was researching knots to tie directly to a hook or to a swivel, this popped up and it has 3 other names. People call it the Wonder Knot, they call it the Fishing Fool Knot, and the improved or modified Uni Knot. Well, the 4th name is the 4-name knot, which I came up with. But essentially what it is you start out by taking your braid, you put it through the eye of the hook or the swivel. In this case, it's the swivel. Now, the key here is you want to have plenty of tag end. So after you pass it through, you basically come around and pass it through in the same direction, almost like you're starting to tie a tri-lead knot, which is my absolute favorite knot for steelhead fishing, when you're tying either mono or fluorocarbon to a hook or to a swivel. So anyway, so you make that loop, but you pull it tight. So basically there's 2 wraps around the eye of that swivel. Now, with that longer tag end, you just want to kind of keep that together. You basically make a loop back like this, like you're going to tie a uni knot. And then you just kind of hold that. Don't make this more complicated than it has to be. And you want to wrap that tag end around both those pieces of line at least 5 times. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the key here is to kind of hang on to the knot and kind of pull it to where it kind of comes together. This is also how I tie bobber stops, like when I've lost my bobber stop for bead fishing for steelhead, is I just carry some Dacron in my chest pack, and you tie basically a uni knot to create a bobber stop on your line. So now that I've kind of pulled that together, I'm just going to pull it down to the swivel. Now right here I'm going to wet it just so that I can really tighten it. Grab the tag end, pull tight, and you can kind of use your other hand to kind of help it down so it really snugs up against that. I can't remember the name of the bass fisherman, but he has a pretty cool YouTube channel and he has a lot of information. He had the best demo of how to tie this. I'll put a link to give him credit because I watched a bunch of different how-tos on this and his was the one that made the most sense. But anyway, what he claimed, I wish I remembered his name, is that this knot has a breaking strength over the actual pound test of the line. So if this is 65 pound test, he's saying it's going to break at over 65 pounds of pressure. So that's the knot I've decided to go with. So now I'm going to cut that tag end, and really that's the only knot you have to tie on this portion. So now I'm going to put on my SHORTBUS spreader, and obviously it's a triangle, but you want to put, you know, there's the long side and then there's the short side. Obviously this is where the weight's going to drop off, so put it on one of those sides. Snap that on there. So now you're going to take the other snap swivel that comes with the spreader and put it on the other side. So we've got this. Now, what I did is for the droppers, Daryl has kind of been playing around with it and has discovered that 24 inches is a good dropper length for trolling for spring Chinook. So he suggested using 15-pound Maxima Ultra Green and tying them again at 24 inches. And so on one end, I have a pretty good size snap swivel, and that's what I'm going to snap to the bottom of this. Now I'm going to wait to do that when I'm on the river. And then at the bottom, I just have a duo snap, and that's what I'm going to snap to my actual cannonball. I have those rigged up. I've done 6 because we're going fishing tomorrow. And I just figure we're going to be running 4 rods, and we pretty rarely get hung up, but this way I have 2 extras. And I have those on the fishing board, which those are pretty handy. The only thing I don't like about these is they cause the line to kind of get bends in it. That's not going to affect anything, especially since this is just foam, but I'm just not a big fan of that. And that's kind of why I decided to go with one of these Lindy riggers for my actual trolling rigs, but we'll get to that in a minute. All right, so the next part of this puzzle is you want a bumper, and this is going to go between the spreader and the triangle flasher. And SHORTBUS makes these as well. It's called the SHORTBUS Stiffy. I just love the names that they come up with for this stuff. But anyway, so these are the 24-inch models. You can make these yourself out of really heavy monofilament, but I'm just trying to save as much time as possible. So I want to say that they were only like $6 for 2 on Fishfield because they were on sale. Okay, so now we have our bumper on there. And so what I'm going to do is the bumper is what's going to attach to the triangle flasher. But in between the triangle flasher and the bumper, you're going to want to put a bead chain. And bead chains just help reduce line twist. So I've got a Brad 6-ball bead chain. I'm going to go ahead and put that on here. So here I'm just going to add a duo snap because that's what's going to connect to the top of one of my triangle flashers. So these are pretty heavy duty duo snaps. I'm going to use these little tiny pliers because my thumbs are raw from opening duo snaps yesterday. So many of them. Okay. So obviously put the small end, the short end on the bead chain, and just put that back together. So that's the basic start of it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stow the rods like this, just like this, for travel, and I'm going to take my duo snap and I'm just going to connect it to my fishing rod butler and then just tighten it up. But just to kind of continue with the demo, I'm going to show you once I add it to one of my triangle flashers. So I got these, I should say all of this stuff as far as the 360s and the triangle flashers. This video is obviously on the triangle flashers for fishing with cut plug herring. But I bought all this stuff from Fishfield back in like November on their Black Friday sale. For instance, I think I paid like around $10 for these SHORTBUS triangle flashers, and some places sell them for up to like 18, 19 bucks. And I also bought some of these little holders from Fishfield to hold the triangle flashers in. So this is my starting lineup. This is the Springer Ringer. Let's see, I can't remember all the names on some of these, but I believe this is the Electric Pole Dancer, and this is the Sweet Abbey. So I've got 2 of each of those, and then I've got some additional colors, kind of like the chartreuse with silver, and then I got like all silver, and I'm not going to say the name on some of those, because this is a family-friendly channel. Pretty clever though, SHORTBUS. But I want to say that these triangle flasher holders, they hold 6, were only like, I want to say $8. And it's just nice to have a way to organize these. Daryl is able to organize them like this, but then he hangs them from his tower. Okay, so continuing on, I'm going to show you kind of how to set up the flashers. This one's called the Plaid Chartreuse Hunter. It's kind of a cool color. It kind of has a chartreuse and more of a silver on one side. So each one comes with 2 of these heavy duty snap swivels. So one of the snap swivels will go on the top. Obviously the pointed part goes towards the rod because it's going to be going through the water this way. So you would just attach that last duo snap to that, like so. And then this side goes to the bottom. And there's essentially that's how the flasher works. Now the bead chains really helps that spin, but what we're going to do is we're going to add another bead chain to the bottom here, and you're going to add another duo snap. So now I'm going to take another duo snap. Use my pliers to save my poor thumbs again. The top one's easy to get out. It's always that bottom one that's a pain in the rear. So I'm going to put the short side of this duo snap on this snap swivel. Yeah, I can close that up now. Probably could do that with my thumb. Okay. Now you want another bead chain on this piece, and what Daryl does, and I'm going to do that, I did the same, is I actually put my bead chains, I tied those directly onto my mooching rigs. We did 48 inches, that's what Daryl was using last time and he had good luck with it. I did some research on it. People use anywhere from 3 feet up to 5 or even 6 feet. The GAMAKATSU, the pre-tied mooching rigs actually come with 6 feet, I think. And that's what I did this time, even though I generally want to tie my own mooching rigs. Just for ease of operation, because I have so much to do, I just buy some of the GAMAKATSU. And these are 3/0 and 4/0 hooks, I should mention. And they're tied in, they're not the sliding hooks. So the bead chain, I would just take one of these, connect it to this duo snap, I'd put on my herring, and we'd be fishing. So one more quick thing that I will show you guys is I bought one of these ProCure. This is the plug cutter. These are a little bit more money than the plastic guides, but this is the one that we've been using, and it's really heavy duty, so that's the one I bought. Alright, so that's it for part 2. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comment field. But more importantly, if you're an experienced salmon troller, and for some reason you watch this video, maybe just to see what I'm doing wrong, and you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comment field. I'd really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. I might do some additional parts to this video series, like how to set up 360s for fishing spinners and other baits, and maybe even some of the gear that I added to my new boat as far as accessories. If I earned it, give me a thumbs up. That helps me out on YouTube. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.